Hello and welcome to another one from the Cronos Watcher. Just checking in on the charts here. Just correcting my audio 1 second and we will get going straight away. So let's get the charts up in front of us here. We have MMF. I'll just double check my stream is actually running. It seems to be so. So MMF is confirming its recovery over the last couple of days. We've seen 2 days of continued uptrend at the moment. So what have we got? A 3% move again on top of 5% yesterday. So we're totaling another kind of total 10% recovery from our scare of St. Patrick's Day and beyond. So MMF looking strong after that. Now we're kind of sitting at the 107 range, looking to touch that 110 again. A good psychological range. You can see that's where it seemed to have its knockoff the last time. So we want to try and push back up above those former highs. You can see those candles there on the 16th and 17th and be moving towards the 110 range again then and above. I suppose hopium is that would happen, get above 110 and look at the 120 range with continued excitement around the ecosystem. But below there, we have to be careful again that if we move into that kind of $1 range, we might have worrying profit taking. Again, if there's any kind of quiet around the ecosystem, it doesn't seem so at the moment. It seems that there is continued news and development all the time, and same for Cronos and crypto.com. So that should kind of feed into this narrative too. So again, hopium being that we see continued upside to 120 over the next 5 to 6 days. Want to be careful of that 101 $1.95 and below range in case we move into those below the dollar ranges and start settling there again by the weekend. So we keep an eye on this the next few days. Now our next target, I suppose, is 110, is to hit that and kind of be moving above it, trending above it in the next 2 to 3 days. So we'll keep an eye on MMF in the meantime. So our next one, Savannah Finance, again associated with the Mad Meerkat ecosystem, suffering the same loss the last time. So let's get zoomed in here on it. I have the daily up just to keep us kind of level and looking at what we need. Sorry about this now. Get right in on it. And you can see here that we seem to be moving some way towards a point of recovery again. The only thing I spotted the last time as well, kind of looking at Savannah a bit deeper, was the fact that each like after we had our kind of ICO craziness here, each iteration of a large drop that the token has seen down to this kind of 114, 115, I suppose you could call it a dollar range, has seen an uptick after the fact. And you can see that last time we saw that on the 3rd of March here, it did just take another week. It went down. Let's measure the percentages there. So over the course of that week, I think it's 7 days, sorry, now I've got it highlighted there. We made a downwards move of about 40%. I suppose you could call it that was its bottom there on that large green candle, and it corrected within that day, but certainly a confirmed 37% downwards trend over 6 days there. And then if we move over to this candle here, from that bottom that it hit on that day, it made a move back up over 81% over the following week again. So I suppose the hopium being that we're seeing some sort of a pattern there that we could expect since we have hit this 120 range and below there before it on the 18th, the 112 range, 110, let's call it $110 again, important psychologically, getting close to that $1 range. Since we have hit that again, that maybe we might see the hopium being again, we might see that same sort of corrective move play out. So hopefully we're seeing a week of that downtrend play out, correct within there, and you can see sort of like the last time and a bit over here. Again, it's not statistical or probability or anything, but it seems that we get knocked down over the course of weekends, correct during the weeks, and then come back over the course of the weekends after that. Now that this is all over the course of 1 month for the token, but maybe it's kind of a psychological pattern playing out for these reward tokens because people are taking profits while other people also buy into the ecosystem. And it's sort of a chase of a price constantly, people chasing each other out of the token here. And here you can see during the week. Now, this was obviously quite drastic. the hopium again being that our upside is even stronger after the fact with continued ecosystem narrative. The only fear, I suppose, being that each of those touches to the bottom side here. So it was over here on the 24th of February, here on the 10th of March, and here on the 18th of March have all been slightly lower. Again, the hopium being that we see a corrective upside that at least does touch a higher high this time, because we did that last time on the 18th. There it is again, is that the 17th? You can see we hit at least 207 there. So hopefully we can correct again. That's the hopium. Otherwise, we're going to see continued downside correction. Just again, the profit taking that psychological element of it not correcting quick enough and people stepping out to take their profits because it's a reward token. So that would be the fear to just keep an eye out. Certainly, the ecosystem narrative seems strong, so there would be a hope that the hopium is the stronger side. The only thing is, statistically, we see volume dropping here. I suppose lack of interest, lack of buying volume in particular, and we're seeing those larger red candles after this correction. That is our fear to keep an eye of. So again, one to be careful of while it corrects. Not as strong a correction as MMF had been. I should keep an eye on our time now. We're 6 minutes in already. So same ecosystem here on Savannah Finance. This is MSHARE, again part of the MMF larger ecosystem and narrative. We are seeing some continued upside here on MSHARE. It seems to have corrected again after its fear dip on the 18th of March. We are not seeing such a strong volume. See the volume dipping off here. We've only had so far today 4.9 million in volume in comparison to some of those scary big red candles there, and these green candles here, they're just as scary sometimes. Like this one here is 20.1 million almost, and this is 9, I suppose, added up with these. Quite a lot of volume in comparison to what we've seen, so we may continue to see some downside here, I would guess, below the 10,000 range. Again, that is psychologically significant. The fact that it corrected to there is good, is healthy, but we want to see some strong ecosystem narrative and continued uptrend there in the value of the token, the perceived value of the token. I mean, the $10,000 range again being very psychologically significant, and if it teeters below there for too long, I would guess we see continued downside for MSHARE, especially over the course of the daily. And we'd see again with ecosystem narratives booming, with the perceived value of the token going up, we have some long-term uptrend here. Perhaps we will see upside, but that would want to happen above $10,000 here, because again, it's very psychologically significant. So we'll keep an eye on MSHARE for the moment. Yesterday, I suppose we had an open of 10,472 and a close of 10,599. So a very tight price range there. You can see a very small candle, and the same for today. Our most significant recovery since the dip was an open of 10,183, which closed at $11,000. So we want to see more closes above that kind of range, closing above $10,000, 10.5 really, more towards that side, and continued uptrend then to 11,000, because we want to look to be moving towards those 15,000 ranges if we're to confirm some long-term upside here. So again, teetering on a ledge so far. MSHARE, we'll check in with it again tomorrow and see how it is done. All of this, of course, just to be aware, 4 hours away from closing, midnight UTC, so just to keep that in mind yourself. MMO, so we'll move on to have a look at it here. We're at 9 minutes. That's not too bad. Just check in on our stream as well while we're loading there. That's cool. Seems to be okay. So MMO still continuing its run, only seemed to feel the dip of the overall Meerkat ecosystem here on the 20th of March, but seems to be correcting since. Today has been quite exciting. We opened at 8.57 and we made a high of 8 948. It's looking like we might close around 890, still 4 hours away, so plenty of room to move. But that high of 950 looking very tantalizing there. A move towards the $10 will be extremely significant psychologically again for this. Plenty of attention on the token, plenty of attention on the ecosystem, and with a lot of volume in it at the same time, has not really seen any significant downside since the 10th of January so far. And I'm trying to get the rest of the chart to load. I presume, is that the ICO? When was it introduced? To 26th December? No way, Stephen's Day. It might be. Sorry, it's not even that the chart isn't loading properly. I didn't think it was much earlier than that, but just didn't think this was the ICO range. So very strong movements from MMO. Of course, it's the optimizer token, has a fixed supply, I believe, so it's literally technically being burned while it's earned. So again, a very significant upside move here to touch that $10 range, and you can already see in the form of that candle here in the daily. If I zoom right in on it and stretch it out, make it pointlessly huge, but you can see that there's a very significant amount of profit taking there. So that would also be an indication that if we were to teeter around this range, that there would be more profit taking. People have a fear of it moving away from the $10 range, so that would be one to keep an eye of. You can see that movement here in this candle on the 20th. Now that is a kind of a reaction to what happened back on Patrick's Day. Look at the Irish, eh? I wonder if that's what it was. But that is probably more of a reaction to that, and just that sight of the $10 range coming in and thinking, good place to take profits. So you can see that in the form of that wick here on that candle today for the 23rd. Something to be careful of, that if we see continued downside in the next couple of days, we may see even more so, due to the fact that people want to take profits up around this $10 range. Again, if we can keep pushing towards it and hit the $10, that's a hugely psychologically significant area. That will be a very exciting time, obviously, for the token, and one then where we see a lot of volume, a lot of possibly negative volume too, because people will be taking a lot of profits. So to be careful there if you were considering MMO. Not financial advice, of course. Always safer to expect the downside, and we might possibly see it if people see these candles printing out. If we see continued downside here during the week, then a weekend could signal a lot of profit taking for MMO, which is a course of time, a time at which we see a lot of volume in DeFi, opposite to the traditional markets. So MMO anyway, having an open today of 857 on the 23rd, a high of 948 so far, and looking like we might close around 890. A lot of profit taking going on. It's already gone to 887, so expect some possible downside in the 4 hours to go towards the close, and we'll check in on it tomorrow. Now it's looking like that's printing like a big profit taking inverted hammer, so one to be careful of at the moment with MMO. So just to keep the time down as well, we might skip on. Well, I can't skip Sky. We have hit and possibly confirmed with Sky above that 1500 range. Let's get right in here on the daily. This always seems to do this to me, this version of TradingView. You can see just a bit of profit taking up here at the $1,500 range, but we have confirmed upside again just on a daily. Now we're going to see massive amounts of profit taking volume here, but if we do zoom out, you can see some very positive signals here on the volume ranges. A lot of positive candles overall, positive dailies, and a massive increase in the amount of volume coming into the ecosystem. You can see this particular day yesterday here was 1.8 million in volume, and today we've already clocked in 1.25 before closing, 4 hours before closing. So at the moment, another fully printed green candle with an open of 1583, again hit that 15 mark and opened again today on the 23rd at 1538, and it's looking like we may close around 1694. So, and that's our high as well, or close to it. So one to keep an eye on. There might be a lot of profit taking here at this range, but it seems to be an ecosystem narrative thing. Maybe marketing exposure. Have they introduced something new to the ecosystem? Things like that. Something to check in on yourself. What's causing this? I believe they have shared some hints of there's some exciting things. Jump into the Discord, engage yourself, have a look. There is some alpha, not financial advice at all. If anything, this is very hot now. We'd want to see some cool off here before we start playing around towards those $2,000 ranges. But you can see the only negative volume we had was on the 20th of March. And that was an open of 13.55 and a close of 12.45. So again, we'll see some of those print, but may continue to see upside just with ecosystem narrative. Now that we have hit this $1,500 range, though, I would expect to see a lot of profit taking on Sky in the meantime. And then we will be looking for some sort of corrective supportive ranges below that between $1,000, I suppose, very roughly, and 1,500. We want to see what happens between there. Psychologically significant again is the $2,000 range. It all depends on ecosystem narrative, the amount of volume coming in, the amount of sell pressure, news narratives versus rumors, etc. Want to be careful of, do the digging on, do the research on, but again, it's looking like a continued meteoric rise here for Sky, and you can see that if we print it out here over the last 37 days, just over a month, we have risen 902%. So extremely hot at the moment. One to be careful of if you were looking at it. But again, broken over and confirmed that $1,500 range, it seems, with Sky for the moment, for the next day or two. Definitely going to see some profit taking and a cool off over the next couple of days, I would expect. Certainly towards the weekend if we continue this uptrend. So that's that for Sky. 16 minutes in. One that is very significant we just want to have a quick check in on. Something I was kind of calling over the weekend and unfortunately has kind of been confirmed is the downside on CRN, on Cronos. Just seeing continued profit taking here. Very sort of a huge drop off in volume there the last couple of days, and then over the course of the 20th towards today we've seen a continued downside move from $960 down all the way down to $590. It is just profit taking at the moment. As far as I know, project is continuing. Everything is going to continue working and people will continue to receive their rewards. This is a nodes project if you're not aware of what it is, but I would expect at the moment that we are going to see continued profit taking down to the $5 range. I think that is the safest call right now. The hopium is that we can see a similar sort of bolstering here, find some support down somewhere around $5 as we did up here at 980. And then look to correct after that. But for the moment, we would most likely see continued correction down to $5 here on CRN as there's continued profit taking. Hopefully no further than that. Another one we're just going to have a quick check in on, I'm going to be keeping up with as I am out of interest myself, is the NESS token for the Darkness US dollar swap. You can see how extremely new we are here, so that's one of the newest we have on the board. But Dark Crypto, a trustworthy platform again, it seems. Especially with things like already introduced like the Dark Crypto algorithmic token and Sky Share that we've already been looking at here. So again, things quite quiet for NESS at the moment. We've simply seen another corrective range down below that 60 cents. We haven't seen any more big moves to that 55 cents range yet, and we have a pretty serious easing off in volume as well, which is just indication of boredom essentially after a ICO. So nothing to worry about too hugely here. If we see increased sell pressure down to the 55 range, we would want to worry about profit taking and pulling out of the ICO ranges below there around 50 cents. Just looking for news narrative essentially, and ecosystem excitement around NESS to see some continued moves towards the upside of possibly 70 cents or so. But for now, kind of as they say, just chilling there around that 50 cents range. And it doesn't seem like we have too much serious sell pressure. If we continue to print negative dailies like this, we can worry about that 55 cents range and profit taking around 50. But it seems this token is pretty bolstered by the platform and the narrative and news around it. So hopium is again that move towards the 65 cent range. Look to find some support there and ecosystem interest. So that's what we're seeing at the moment, just keeping an eye on NESS tokens. So let's have a quick look over the watch list for myself. At least I have them organized in transactions here, and we can switch by volume. So obviously number one, Mad Meerkat, MSHARE, Wrapped Ether and CRO is up there at third place for me in this watch list, which is an indication of continued movement into the ecosystem at least. The Sky token coming in at fourth for me, Savannah at fifth. So that's like our top five. Again, pretty much dominated by Mad Meerkat or Mad Meerkat associated projects. But another way I like to organize this is by transactions. And if you have your look at it yourself there, we can see again complete dominance from MMF. But VVS has some, at least looks like people continue to take profits or maybe some buy-ins up here with 200 transactions. Not a huge amount of volume, which indicates it's I suppose small amounts within all of those transactions. So just a good overview here on the watch list, and we're going to kind of keep this as R1 for the channel here. So hopefully we'll grow this over time and be adding to it. So if there is anything you want to add, you've made it this far on the stream, hit me up on Twitter. Let me know what I can cover, what you're interested in. Again, relatively established or the kind of bigger projects releasing new things out there, that is okay. But for now, I will sign off, try and keep it close to the 20 minutes. Thank you very much for checking in. You can jump into the chapters below, of course, and flick around and everything. I'll put them out on Twitter too. And if you've made it this long, we will see you tomorrow. Thank you for being here the entire time. And that's it from the Cronos Watcher.